How to come into the spotlight? Go missing for decades. This is exactly the way one of the rarest cats on the planet, an extraordinary mouse deer, and a dog with a very shrill howl have chosen. And not only them, in this episode you'll see rare footage of animals that have long been considered extinct. Let's go. Black Panther. The story of the Black Panther is worth starting with what it was in the first place. It's important to understand this is not a separate and distinct species, but a generic word referring to a black leopard or a black jaguar. In addition to their distinctive black color, their fur can be distinguished by unique spots that can be seen at close range. But I wouldn't get too hung up on this information if I were you, because Black Panthers are incredibly rare animals. So much so that until recently, people hadn't received any new information about them in over 100 years. Nevertheless, recently, on the territory of Kenya, scientists found a black leopard, even making a relevant photo. Of course, they photographed it not manually, but with the help of an elaborate automatic system. They were helped by high-quality motion sensors, a mirrorless camera, and several flashes. When someone passed in the area where they were working, the system would activate and take pictures. Of course, other animals were also caught on camera, but one night it also managed to capture an actual black panther. This work confirmed that black leopards exist in Africa. However, black panthers are quite rare there. Researchers are not sure if the genetic mutation that causes melanism in these big cats is the same one responsible for melanism in black panthers from Southeast Asia. Speaking of Southeast Asia, let's talk about the clouded leopard, the very feline which is considered to be quite ancient. Did you know that it has a very rare subspecies called the Formosan clouded leopard? By its habits and physical structure, it was similar to its relatives living in mainland China. It was a relatively small predator, weighing up to 44 pounds. It lived in trees. In the first description of the Formosan clouded leopard, scientists paid attention to its shorter tail. It was 2 times smaller than that of a common mainland clouded leopard. However, no one has been able to confirm this data. As you may have guessed, the subspecies has completely disappeared from the face of the earth. But be that as it may, hope springs eternal. People continued to search for this rare leopard and finally managed to find something interesting. After setting up surveillance cameras and reviewing the footage taken in the morning, the people were shocked because they'd taken footage of a Formosan clouded leopard. Yes, the footage doesn't show it from different angles or for long periods of time, but it's still better than nothing. Some of the skeptics kept saying that it was something else, but most agreed that this subspecies was alive after all. Now we need to find some better evidence and correct the pages of history. What happens if you cross a mouse and a deer? The result would be something very similar to a chevrotain, which is a cute animal. By the way, it's considered the smallest ungulate in the world. It looks like a rabbit and weighs up to 11 pounds. This endemic of Vietnam lives exclusively in dense forests. At the end of the 20th century, when technology was objectively worse, scientists were still able to somehow contact and study it. But for the last 30 years, there's been no information about the silverback chevrotain, also known as the Vietnam mouse deer. At one point, the creature was even included in the list of the world's rarest animals. But the mouse deer didn't last long in the top. In 2012, this baby was found. Scientists set up trap cameras deep in the jungle and checked the results after 5 months. The cameras captured that the mouse deer were really alive. In total, the specialists managed to get about 2,000 pictures with silverback chevrotains. There are several individuals on them, but scientists have not yet been able to estimate the exact size of the population. New Guinea singing dog. It turns out that people are able to find not only tiny creatures, but also quite normal-sized dogs. These include the New Guinea singing dog, which has not been seen in the wild at all since the 1970s. It's not hard to guess that these dogs are loved for their unique howls. Many compare the sounds they make to those of humpback whales. Now, about 200 to 300 individuals, caught about half a century ago, live in conservation centers and zoos. Specialists feared that there were no more of these animals left in the wild, but fortunately, the fears were unjustified. Already in 2016, people found a whole pack of these dogs, and a little later they took their biological samples just in case. The scientists confirmed the data. Now it remains to scrutinize the habits of these creatures and understand how they should be cared for. The plan is to fully restore the population. Madagascar chameleon. For many, if a creature has not been seen in about 50 years, it's something incredible, very rare, or ancient. But believe me, there are many cases in history when people have rediscovered creatures with longer periods of time. One such is the Madagascar chameleon, or the Voltskaus chameleon to be more precise. It's definitely avoided contact with people since 1913. It's obvious that during this time it was classified as an extinct creature, but people were wrong. In 2018, scientists traveled to Madagascar and decided to explore the territories that they had not touched before. This tactic paid off immediately. After exploring just 6 spots, the people found this very rare species. It lived in the garden of a hotel in the settlement of Catesby. In total, there were several males and more than a dozen females. Thus, the people not only confirmed the existence of the chameleon species that had long been missing, but also managed to describe it a little. It was found out that females are smaller than males and change colors more actively. If the males remain green most of the time, then the females sometimes acquire a very bright and contrasting color. It's still a mystery what else can this chameleon surprise us with and how widely it's spread. The scientists have to find it out. But the fact that the creature is alive cannot help but please. Somali elephant shrew. See this cute little shrew? It feels like this insect-eating mammal just couldn't help but catch people's eyes. It's too cute and funny for humans to stop being interested in it. However, things don't always go according to our plan. At one point, the Somali elephant shrew decided to hide from the whole world and didn't appear for more than 50 years. This tiny animal must have been literally and figuratively running away from the troubles all the time. It's not for nothing that it runs at a speed of almost 19 miles an hour. However, the main trick of the animal is not even this one. You've probably already paid attention to its funny nose. It's with this trunk that it hunts insects. These shrews differ from their other relatives with a small furry tassel on their tail. It took a long time to find them, until in 2020, researchers took the first and long-awaited picture of the creature in its natural habitat. In order to find the cunning creature, it was necessary to use the forces of hundreds of scientists. It was an entire expedition that simply could not end in failure. In total, the team observed 12 Somali elephant shrews and came to an important conclusion. Apparently, these animals are not on the verge of extinction after all and are thriving in Djibouti, as well as probably in Somalia and even Ethiopia, although the size of the population is still difficult to estimate. Unexpected encounter. This story took place in the fall of 2020. 2 friends were walking through the forest in the Indonesian province of South Kalimantan and accidentally came across a bird unknown to them. They decided to take a few photos to remember so they could learn more about it later. After the walk, the guys went to the scientists they knew and showed them the pictures. And now, imagine the face of an expert who recognized in this bird a very rare species, which was last seen only in the middle of the 19th century. The pictures showed a black-browed babbler. After learning that these birds did live there, a whole group of researchers went to the same forest. The expedition had one single goal: to find and record the feathered one. In the end, the people managed to find 2 black-browed babblers hiding in a dense bush growing near a rocky cliff. They were very quiet, which is probably why they'd not been spotted for over 170 years. The team managed not only to photograph the black-browed babblers, but also to take video footage of them. All the new data obtained will allow scientists to learn much more about the behavior of these particular birds and all birds in general. In the future, scientists plan to assess their habitat. It's possible that these species is small in number and is under threat of extinction. In this case, it will need reliable protection. Black-naped pheasant pigeon. This bird was also not reported for quite a long time, about 140 years, until 2022, an expedition of researchers from Cornell University was able to confirm the existence of a subspecies of the black-naped pheasant pigeon. And it happened completely spontaneously. but it ended up in obtaining unique footage, consisting of both individual images and full-fledged videos. The filmed clips became the first for a long time, although it seems that it was impossible not to notice this large bird with such a bright plumage. However, nothing is known about the feathered one, so it's quite possible that it is capable of such things, which we don't even guess yet. Only time will tell us. Many of us have seen animal documentaries. Next, I'll show you how they're made. There are many different techniques and ways to film animals in the wild. It all depends on the animals themselves, as well as the location where the shooting takes place. The first technique is the simplest, but also one of the most difficult. Cameramen call it approach shooting. The idea is simple. The cameraman gets as close to the animals as possible and film it without using any protection. This technique allows photographers and cameramen to easily change angles, sit or lie down to get new footage, and basically use the camera as efficiently and creatively as possible. This technique is often used to shoot birds. It can be harmless birds, birds of prey, or even some large birds. There are not so many birds in the world that can attack a person, so this technique is effective. In addition, various animals that are already accustomed to people or do not pose a great danger to them are filmed in this way. Basically, these are different ungulates. And the most curious, in terms of approach shooting, are meerkats. Although predatory, these animals are very small, curious, and not aggressive towards humans. So instead of attacking, they often approach cameramen, stare at the camera lens, or even climb on the camera or the cameraman, putting on a show. Approach shooting can be combined with camouflage. The essence is the same. The cameraman is still as close to the animals as possible, but they can be in sniper camouflage or hiding in some improvised booth, which is organically built into the habitat of the animal and does not confuse them. Protection. However, wild animals are unpredictable, and approach shooting doesn't always work. And if we're talking about predators from Africa, then approach shooting is very dangerous. Cameramen need protection. It may seem unusual, but most footage featuring lions, leopards, hyenas, and other dangerous animals are taken from a car. But this car isn't exactly ordinary. First, it must be passable. Second, it must be reinforced in case of animal attacks. And for the cameras, they're usually hung outside the car and installed in such a way that they cover the maximum view and give the best quality. These cameras are operated directly from the car. Sometimes, however, they can film animals directly from the vehicle, as tourists do on safari. To keep the picture from shaking, cameramen use stabilizers. And to keep the quality good, it's necessary to set the light well. Shooting from a protected car is certainly a good thing, but this method can't always be used. There are places where a car simply won't go in, or it will be dangerous to drive it. For example, the Arctic. Unlike lions in Africa, polar bears and walruses are not used to cars, and the shooting can be failed. As an option, people can shoot from a great distance or use a protected cage. It's installed in the right place. The cameraman goes there and shoots the animals on camera. However, sometimes bears attack these cages, but people get even better and cooler footage. The same thing is sometimes done in Africa to shoot lions at close range as naturally as possible. In this case, the cage or the camera can be covered with meat as bait, so that the predators themselves come to the shooting. There's also another option, the safest one. Simply place the cameras in the right place and wait. After a day or two, the cameramen come back, take the cameras, and watch the footage. On the plus side, you can see the most natural behavior of animals because people do not confuse them and they have no idea that they're filmed. On the downside, it's usually unrealistic to control the shooting in such a case, and it takes a lot of time to view and select the right moments. Luckily, we live in an era of modern technology, so the people on the film crew don't have to risk their lives or spend hours setting up cameras in the wild at all. They can use robots. Many modern animal documentaries are made with their help. First of all, I'm talking about robot tanks. These are small mobile devices with cameras which are incredibly durable. No predator will break them. A human controls the robot, which quietly and carefully approaches dangerous animals and shoots interesting details of their lives. The main thing in this kind of filming is not to scare the animals. First, the robot must be introduced to them. People need to show that it's safe. After that, the animals stop paying attention to it and continue to behave naturally. You can go even further and use robotic animals. These are devices in the form of different animals equipped with cameras. The main advantage of such robots is that the animals perceive them as other animals, their congeners or enemies. As a result, the animals behave naturally, and this is very important for shooting high-quality material. For example, people can use a robot in the form of birds to film birds. It can also be used to film how the prey behaves at the sight of a dangerous bird. Gorillas, which have a bad attitude toward any strangers, are filmed by gorilla robots. The same can be said for other apes. Sometimes such filming reveals surprising details and new facts about the life of primates. For example, they can grieve for their dead relatives as well as humans. In addition, robotic animals are great for capturing dangerous footage of large animals or predators. For example, in this case to film the shark hunting, the cameramen used an ordinary camera, a camera inside a robot seal, and a robot bird that filmed everything from above. Thanks to this, the shark didn't realize that everything was staged and behaved naturally, giving us some cool footage of the hunt. And here the film crew used a robot hare to show how the eagle hunts. But there are other methods used for filming these birds. Like GoPro cameras. What? Did you think only humans can take footage using them? Animals are just as good. All you need to do is find the animal you want to film, attach a GoPro to it, and let it go. Then it'll become a cameraman, or a camera animal, to be more precise, and do all the work. This works best with birds. No cameraman or drone can get as high and fly as beautifully as the bird itself. Footage of such flights will make any documentary better and more impressive, even the most boring one. GoPro can also be used on land animals, for example on various predators. If you do everything carefully and correctly and equip a cheetah or even a lion with a GoPro, you can get point-of-view footage of hunting, and that's worth a lot. No cameraman can capture something like this on their own. However, sometimes animals can do it without people. Big wild cats, being very curious creatures, can steal the camera, which was hidden somewhere in the thicket, and start their video blog about life in the wild. Sometimes editors can save this footage and add it into documentaries. In this way, you can also film the life of underwater or semi-underwater inhabitants. The principle's the same. You attach the camera to some harmless fish or even a shark, track it, and wait for it to come back with unique footage. Drones. Drones are an integral part of many documentaries. All these videos from high altitudes, all the flybys and long shots, all the footage that show huge herds of animals from above, everything is filmed with the help of drones. Interestingly enough, in the past, this kind of thing was filmed with the help of a helicopter in which the film crew landed. However, occasionally it's still done today. However, helicopters are very noisy, so it's not very profitable to shoot from them. They scare the animals and often spoil the footage. Drones are relatively quiet and small. Animals may not even notice them, thanks to which we get very interesting and beautiful footage. Everything seems to be clear with land animals and birds. But what about underwater footage? There are documentaries about all sorts of whales, sharks, and unusual fish. How are they made? Exactly as you might think. They're made by people. A crew member puts on a diving suit, picks up a camera, and dives underwater. There they film the local flora and fauna. If the sea or river inhabitants are safe, the diver cameraman may not even need to be assisted. But if it's about filming dangerous predators, then they may need support from above. People who can chase away the threat if something bad happens. A cage may also be used in underwater filming. Today, you've already seen how cameramen shoot bears and lions at close range, sitting in cages. Here, the principle's the same. In general, such cages are usually used by ordinary divers who want to experience new sensations and see dangerous marine animals up close. But they can also be used by cameramen with professional cameras. Of course, other tricks are also used. For example, filming under ice is sometimes done with the help of a special camera, which is placed on a kind of rails in the middle of cracked ice. And footage of marine animals near the surface of the water can be captured from a boat or a ship equipped with cameras. Such cameras can be static or rotate only in the horizontal plane, or they can be more sophisticated. In this case, people can lower them into the water and take footage directly from the deck without fear of predator attack. In addition to professionally filmed animal documentaries, on the internet you can find a large number of unique videos filmed on people's phones. And now I'll show you some of them. Leopard and porcupine. It seems that the outcome of this confrontation is obvious. After all, the leopard is a formidable predator, and the porcupine is only a rodent. However, this rodent has an ace in the hole in the form of sharp spines. Here they are in action. The leopard is licking in the middle of the road, and the porcupine is watching it. Tension builds, the leopard gets angry and starts chasing the rodent. Porcupine hisses, and the predator repeatedly slaps the animal on the back with its paw. The confrontation ends with the porcupine's spine sticking into the opponent's paw. The big cat stops chasing its prey and licks the wounds, and the victorious porcupine walks away. That's it! Porcupine spines are a powerful weapon that even very dangerous predators can't handle, including lions. Even a few lions are no obstacle for a porcupine with its sharp spines. Cat and bear. Well, it's even more obvious here, isn't it? Can a small house cat handle a bear? Sure it can. This footage shows a bear sneaking into the house. In the background, you can hear a dog barking, but it's not the dog that enters the fray. The brave little furball was the first to run at the bear and chased him off in no time. And don't think this is some kind of pure chance or luck. Look at this cat, for example. It frightened the bear so much that the latter climbed up a tree to escape such a brave predator. And this cat on the porch didn't allow the bear to pass on, frightened it with voice, and then threatened it with a sharp blow with its paw. The bear was forced to retreat under such onslaught. Tigers and a cat. We see something of a family reunion. Cat has met its older and larger relatives. It's alone in an enclosure with two tigers. Even though all these animals belong to the feline family, this doesn't mean that the tiger is safe for the cat. The striped giant can crush the furball in no time, but the cat doesn't let it get close and chases it away. Look on the tiger's face at the end of the video is priceless. It's in total shock. And here's a safer situation. Tiger is sitting in its cage, and its relative is watching it. Tiger tries to sniff the cat and get acquainted with it. Furball's not in the mood. It punches the tiger sharply on the nose, and now the tiger's in shock too. Tigers, bears. It seems that domestic cats aren't afraid of anyone at all, but they're not. They can be humbled by chickens. That's right, at least that's what happened in the following video. A cat attacked a chicken, but another chicken immediately chased the rude one away. It backed off just to pounce again. After waiting for the right moment, predator attacks but is rebuffed again and now retreats completely. That's how powerful these chickens are. The roosters are no worse actually. Although these birds are small and not the smartest, they can stand up for themselves. For example, in this footage, the rooster came up to the horse, but the horse kicked hard. Its feathers flew in different directions. The horse must have thought that was the end of it, but that was only the beginning. The disgruntled rooster took revenge. It got away of the horse, pecked at its feet. There was nothing the horse could do. It could only endure the beating. I wonder how long it lasted. Horses don't seem to be as powerful creatures as is commonly believed. Maybe this horse will rehabilitate its congener from the last video. After all, its rival is a very simple tortoise, but only the horse thinks so. The tortoise, as always, takes its time and bides its time. Suddenly, it opens up and frightens the horse. The horse has to gallop away. Time for a second try. The horse approaches the reptile again, but this time the tortoise acts more decisively. It opens up sharply, bites the horse, and the horse has to run as hard as it can from such a small threat. Jaguar and caiman. These two dangerous predators are eternal rivals in their native South America. As a rule, the jaguar wins. This large and frisky cat is stronger and more nimble than the caiman. Ambushing the crocodile, it usually doesn't leave the reptile a chance to escape. Here's another such foray. The jaguar cautiously approaches the caiman from behind and bites its tail. It doesn't even fight back, and the jaguar starts dragging it, but it was a distraction. The reptile turns sharply, bites the jaguar, and throws it into the pond with all its might. It was some kind of wrestling match. The big cat will have to find other food. Hyena and donkey. What animal would you bet on in such a fight? I'm sure many of you would prefer the hyena without hesitation. After all, it's a predatory animal with very powerful jaws and incredible aggression and assertiveness. And the donkey, well, it just walks around a field somewhere, drags heavy object, that's all. But that's a misconception. Look at how this donkey dominates the hyena. It doesn't give it a chance. It grabs it by the ear, leans on it, and starts lifting it up and putting it down. If you've had your ears twitched and ripped by someone, you have an idea how much the hyena is in pain right now. It still couldn't bite the donkey or do anything to counteract it. Clean win for the ungulate. In fact, Donkeys are very dangerous indeed. They can harm not only the hyena but also a human. An irritated donkey can easily break a man's skull with its hoof, so you shouldn't make these creatures angry. But everyone can be dealt with. For the donkey, the camel can be a good opponent. In this footage, the donkey first provoked the camel, approached it, started bullying it and stuff. Camel only opens its mouth threateningly at first, but eventually bit the donkey. Squeezed it very hard, got it on the ground, and held it for a few seconds. Soon it let go of the bully. You can see how the donkey became. Zeal and aggression were gone in a moment, and the donkey hobbled back wounded. That's what happens to aggressors. Tiger and bear. Tigers and bears are two super predators. The tiger is one of the few animals that can resist the bear. The same can be said about the bear in relation to the tiger. How will this fight unfold? Here, the tiger approaches the bear and clearly tries to provoke it conflict. At first, the bear tolerates and just walks away, but soon it lost its nerve. It gets up on its hind legs, drives the striped cat away. It didn't even have to use force. But this isn't always the case. Here, for example, the provocation turned into a real battle. Tiger acted well and kept the bear on the ground, but soon ran out of steam. The bear got up and chased the cat away. By the way, in both cases, the tigers were confronted by a sloth bear. Not as big as a brown or polar bear, but many aspects much more aggressive and dangerous than them. These bears are considered some of the most aggressive in the world, and for humans, they're even considered the deadliest. Dog and kangaroo. This curious dog wanted to examine a kangaroo that was in some body of water. The marsupial thought the dog was a danger. In the end, a seemingly ordinary situation almost turned into a tragedy. Kangaroo started beating the dog and tried to drown it. Fortunately, it didn't come to this. The dog broke free, got ashore, and finally barked tempestuously in the direction of its offender. Lioness and buffaloes. Next, we have a typical situation in Africa. Two hungry lionesses tracked down a buffalo and decided to eat it. Although the buffalo is much bigger than the lionesses, it's not able to resist them. In addition, it's stuck in some mud, which is contradicted with its weight. It seemed that the lionesses were about to destroy the African bull, but its congeners came to its aid. One of the buffaloes hit the lioness from behind, and its friend chased away the second cat. The prey is saved. But don't think the buffaloes are so weak that they necessarily need a team to stand up to predators. Even one buffalo is capable of handling everything on its own. This is just that kind of footage. The buffalo was surrounded by an entire lion pride. The lionesses were biting the bull and attacking it in every way, but they attacked the wrong opponent. The buffalo didn't tolerate this and tossed one of the big cats in the air in an epic way. The video stops, but according to the author of the video, the bull eventually fought off the lionesses and survived. And here's another bull, but not an African one. At some performance, a dog jumped into the bull's arena. Apparently, it thought it was immortal because it came up to the bull and bit the body part one should never bite bull, or anyone else for that matter. Of course, the herbivore went into a rage. The bull jumped up and down a bit, and after it had recovered from the pain, it kicked its offender with all its might. The dog flew away a few meters. Looked tough, but don't worry, the dog's fine. It got up and left the arena to think about its act. Cheetahs and warthogs. Cheetahs are the fastest land animals in the world, and they train their phenomenal speed already in childhood. This young cheetah decided to crack on the warthog, a wild African pig. The warthog didn't seem to stand a chance, but the cheetah didn't think it through. The warthog's parents were nearby and rushed to save their baby. Now the cheetah had to run away as fast as it could. You don't see that every day. Once again, we have tigers. Maybe at least this time these predators will come out the winners. Not at all. In this footage, the tiger is confronted by a duck. Well, it's not even confronted, actually. Rather, the duck mocks the poor cat. The tiger tries to catch it, but every time the bird dives, hides, and appears in a new place. And this isn't the only such case. In this footage, we see the same thing. The duck is thrown out of the car into the pond, and the tigers rush after it. They must have thought they'd been given easy prey, but that's not the case. This duck, as well as its congener from the previous video, maneuvered cleverly, fooled the striped cats, and eventually left them with nothing. Monkeys troll tigers no worse than ducks. These nimble creatures use their agility and tenacity not only to get food or move between trees, but also to taunt dangerous predators. This monkey had a good time. It climbed up on a branch, hung down, and began to show that the tiger wouldn't get it. As if that wasn't enough, the monkey hit the cats on the head and even pulled their ears a couple of times. What a bad luck for the tigers in today's episode. That's all, guys. Which animal fight impressed you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you later.